It became clear after working with Julian across the universe, we really were of like minds in terms of what we saw, how we saw movement, how we approached it, and she said, okay, let's do this. And when we talked, we said, look, Spider-Man, he swings, he's in the air, he climbs walls, and we both knew that we had to go to the next level of it. We started brainstorming, it must have been 4 years ago. We started really brainstorming, what do we want to do? How do we want to do it? There was a song called Bouncing Off the Walls. How do we get him bouncing off the walls? Do we put him in a huge mechanical arm that swings him around, or do we put him on a twisty belt? It's gotten much more sophisticated from the early days of Foy, when someone hooked you up on Peter Pan and go, pick you up and slide you across. I had sort of been working with Cirque on Love in Vegas, and I had started to see really sophisticated flying systems. And we said we had to put a team together. And what we really did is put a team together of a designer, Scott Rogers, and a kind of a rigging designer, Jacques Paquin. And from that, Scott came from the world of the Spider-Man films. He was a stunt coordinator on Spidey 2 and 3. And he really understood wire work and the high-speed motors and the programming of it and the design of it. And Jacques really understood rigging. He's been Cirque's rigger for 20 years. We did a workshop early on, probably 3.5 years ago, in Sony Studios in LA, which we did about 4 weeks, 3.5 weeks, of where we really started to define what the outer parameters of this kind of flying was going to be. And I realized that really the way that Cirque was doing it, the way that Scott Rogers does it in the movies, was the way to go. And so we came together and designed a system which is really a fully three-dimensional automated system. It is, for sure, the most sophisticated thing that's ever been done on Broadway. And on some levels, it's the most sophisticated flying because it's two people interacting in the air in three-dimensional space. I would say it's very much the first of its kind. I imagine people will follow. It really is technical. When these wires take you, they take you. And what you have to learn is to give into the wires and learn how to flow with the wires. It's really driven by narrative. It really is. When you're working in theater, even Broadway to a sense, I don't want to do a number that stops the show and wow, and everyone will clap. They love what they're doing, but it's got to be interwoven. I've said many times, and I hate saying it, but I hate saying it, so qualify that, put that with this comment. I almost don't want you to think there's a choreographer. Because in the best sense, you don't want movement to sound like, whoa, that's my work. There's a couple steps. You want it to be all cohesive. You want the actors to move like that's the way they would move. Spider-Man was written in the 60s, It was a very different time. We couldn't do a Mad Men in Spider-Man, so we had to take what's on the streets today. In the process of auditioning, I was very conscious of who I was choosing. It wasn't just, there were fabulous technicians that came that I had to say no to because I could see they didn't want to go the physical nature. And then there were other people that were physical but didn't have enough of the technique to move fast enough. But it was an arduous process. I tested them in strength, I tested them in style, I tested them in technique, we got them in the air and flew them. It was almost like a little bit of a strange boot camp audition that I had to see, is this the right person? And then I interviewed everyone. Ultimately, my process, even with the greatest dancer, won't be anything if we don't have a simpatico. I like bullying by numbers because I had all the guys and we were playing like crazy with new moves and inventing things. Although I like the women in Deeply Furious because they all have 6 legs on and it was funny. We got in the room with all the women and, I'm a guy, so I don't know. I sat there with the women and I realized I didn't really have a straight line to talk to them about this piece because I realized it was going to be hard for me to show 7 women how to sort of become deeply furious, both sensually and also physically with these legs. What's, I think, amazing about Spider-Man is that it's a lot of very talented people. These are people that are at the top of their game, and we're all working together. And I love that because I think we're in a kind of a collaborative nature where we're not, there's no ego involved. We're all doing, trying to make Spider-Man.
Tickets for Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark are available through Ticketmaster or at the Foxwood Theater box office on 42nd Street.